Dear Taurus, let's get straight to the heart of something that's been weighing you down. Have you ever felt like the foundation holding up a crumbling house? You are the bedrock, the one who keeps everything from falling apart, yet no one ever asks if the foundation itself is cracking. You walk into a room and you immediately become the anchor, the listener, the problem solver. That responsibility feels innate. Even as a child, you knew how to be silent, how to swallow your own needs to maintain peace for others. They called you stubborn, slow, too practical. But let me tell you, Taurus, you were never the problem. You were simply trying to build stability on unstable ground. You shouldered the burdens they refused to face. And that is your quiet strength. Your family may never truly understand your deep-seated need for peace and security. When you retreat to your own space after chaotic social gatherings, it's not a sign of being distant. It's a necessary response to having your energy depleted. You're not cold, Taurus. You're simply exhausted from being the strong tree for people who never water your roots. Yet, you stayed. You stayed when they called your dreams of a stable life boring. You stayed when they took your loyalty and dependability for granted. You even stayed when your presence became a dumping ground for their own anxieties and failures. But let's be honest, staying has cost you dearly. Your soul has been eroding under the weight of responsibilities that were never yours to carry. Your silence has become a survival tactic. You nod when every fiber of your being wants to say no. You've played the role of the strong, dependable one they scripted for you, while your true self, the one who also craves to be nurtured and protected quietly, faded into the background. Now, here's the good news. The universe is intervening not to punish you, but to protect you. This isn't a collapse. It's a necessary reconstruction. What feels like loss is actually liberation. The earthquake you're feeling isn't chaos, it's realignment. You're not being pushed away because you failed. You're being pulled out because you've fulfilled your role in their narrative. Your presence in your family was never random. You were a divine reminder of stability, sent to calm the storms, to build what others didn't dare to start, to break toxic patterns by embodying something more solid, reliable, and true. But remember, you cannot build a home for those who only want to demolish. They were never meant to fully understand you. You were sent not to be tended to, but to learn how to tend to your own garden. And now, the time has come to leave, not with anger or guilt, but with self-reverence. This departure is not about rejecting your family, it's about reclaiming the territory of your soul. They may not recognize your absence as a healing act. They may think you've changed, and you have. You've stopped putting their needs before your own peace. You've stopped being the foundation for unsafe structures. You've stopped carrying loads that were never yours. The universe is calling you home, not to a place, but to yourself. You might feel a heavy grief rising. Let it come. You're not mourning them. You're mourning the version of yourself that only knew how to love through self-sacrifice. That version deserves a farewell, not shame. This is not abandonment, this is fortification. You don't need permission to reclaim your energy. You don't need validation to choose peace over blind loyalty. You don't need anyone's blessing to walk into the life your spirit craves. What lies ahead will not require you to explain your existence. It will understand you in your native tongue. Stability, loyalty, silence, and tangible worth. The way forward is sacred and quiet. It won't be marked by fireworks or fanfare, but by a slow, steady return to equilibrium. You'll start sleeping deeper, stop justifying your choices, and enjoy the simple, concrete pleasures of life. You are not being removed. You are being returned to your power, your clarity, your divine essence. Those who once misunderstood you, let them go. Let them remember you as a strength they couldn't sustain. Let them speak of you as a mystery. Your story isn't ending. It's being rebuilt. You're not leaving love behind. You're heading toward a love that doesn't require you to exhaust yourself to prove it's real. Allow the ground beneath you to become solid again. Let the universe guide you beyond the familiar, because everything you've been yearning for is already waiting just beyond what you've always known. There's a space being carved out for you right now. Taurus, not with hands, but with divine intention. You may not see it yet, and you might even doubt its existence, but it's there, solid in the distance, like a mountain made not of stone or brick, but of energy, truth, and peace. It's a sanctuary where your soul will no longer be asked to defend its need for security. But before you arrive, there is a clearing. You'll begin to feel different. Conversations you once tolerated will drain you. You'll feel an urge to be alone, not out of fear, but for survival. Old spaces will feel foreign. Familiar voices will suddenly echo with a chaos you can no longer ignore. Don't resist it. This is the divine, recalibrating you. The discomfort you feel is not rejection, it's realignment. The reason you feel estranged from your own family isn't because something's wrong with you. It's because you've grown beyond the vibrational frequency of what they represent. You're no longer content to belong in a space that requires you to abandon yourself, and you shouldn't be. You've spent your life turning your complexities into simple pieces they could digest, dimming your needs so they wouldn't outshine their chaos. You've turned your pain into silence just to be left alone. But what if I told you you don't have to do that anymore? There are people coming into your life who will feel like quiet recognition, like a sturdy home, in a language your heart forgot it knew. These are your soul mirrors, individuals who won't ask you to justify your silence or shrink your need for stability. They will see your steadfastness not as stubbornness, but as evidence of your strength to build a meaningful life. This is the beginning of your sanctuary, and it starts with a decision to choose yourself. Choose stillness over noise, peace over performance, and truth, even when it comes with solitude. You might still feel the pull to go back, to pick up the phone and explain, to defend your absence, to reassure those who never truly saw you. But don't. This season is sacred because it's quiet. Let the space speak. Let your absence be your boundary. Let your stillness be your statement. Healing, Taurus, is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like logging off, declining an invitation, or not showing up to defend yourself in a room where your name was never spoken with respect. It's in these quiet rebellions that your soul finds its breath again. You are no longer here to carry everyone else's unprocessed wounds. You were never meant to sacrifice your sanity for the illusion of belonging. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. And you, Taurus, have outgrown that disguise. Let the guilt go. Let the idea of being the good one fall away. Let them say, you've changed. Let them think you're distant. Let them misunderstand you. You are not available for roles that require your suffering anymore. Instead, be available for what nurtures you. Be open to joy that you don't have to earn, to intimacy that doesn't come with fear, and to connections where silence is shared, not filled with tension. That's what you're walking toward. Your sanctuary is already forming. You'll notice it in the subtle shifts, the way your breath deepens when you're alone, the calm that washes over you after letting something go, and the surge of knowing when you meet someone who doesn't question your pace but respects it. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. You are being prepared for something you can't yet name. Yes, it hurts sometimes. Healing often feels like a demolition at first, but don't confuse the ache of detachment with the pain of being wrong. You are not wrong for leaving. You are not wrong for needing distance. You are not wrong for choosing yourself after years of being chosen last. You were never too slow, Taurus. They were simply too chaotic to receive your peace. Let that be what it is, not your burden to carry, but your permission to release. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to remember it. And once you do, the world will shift around you. Not suddenly, not loudly, but inevitably. What is meant for you will begin to appear, not because you chased it, but because you finally made room for it. What resonates with your truth will find you quietly, in the most ordinary moments, a peaceful morning, a kind gesture, a space that feels safe. And just like that, you'll know you're not lost. You are just rebuilding. There will come a day, Taurus, a day when the silence is more profound than usual. The sunlight through your window will seem a little warmer, and a stillness will settle across the room like a divine hush. On this day, you won't feel anxious, not because you're numb, but because something inside you has shifted. You'll feel it like a cornerstone has been set, like a weight you've carried for lifetimes has finally been put down. You won't be able to explain it, but you'll know you're no longer theirs. And in that moment, without ceremony or sound, it will happen. You will close your eyes, not to sleep, but to see. And in the vast, quiet space behind your lids, a lush, thriving garden stretches before you, not metaphorical, not imagined, an endless expanse of green, fertile, and alive. It hums with the colors of rich earth and wildflowers, reflecting a sun you've never seen before. You are barefoot on its rich soil, dressed in comfortable, natural fibers. There is no fear, no confusion, only presence. Across a sturdy, well-kept fence, you see them, not your family in flesh, but the echoes of every soul who ever misunderstood you. Every voice that told you to hurry up, every pair of eyes that failed to see your strength, they stand on the other side, unable to reach you now. Between you and them is the garden itself, your garden, the sacred ground of your soul, your truth, your precious stability. You realize they never crossed the fence, not because you didn't invite them, but because they never dared to learn how to plant. You kneel beside a patch of earth, and from the soil itself, your new life begins to sprout. First, the vision of a home filled with warmth, good food, and sunlight that moves gently across your walls. Then, a tribe of souls with calm eyes, kind voices, and steady hands who welcome you without question. You see conversations that don't drain you, mornings where you wake up feeling secure, and nights where your need for quiet is met with respect, not judgment. You see you not as you were, but as you are when no one is watching. Solid, quiet, creative, true. The vision fades slowly, but the knowing stays. You open your eyes. You are still in your room. Nothing has changed, but everything has. Because now you remember, this isn't just a season of healing. This is a return, a sacred remembering of who you were before the world told you to forget. The universe is not just removing you from what is toxic, it is placing you back onto what is holy. And what is holy, Taurus, is you. But here's the thing. This vision is not a reward. It's a warning and a promise. You've seen what's possible. Now the question becomes, will you choose it? Will you have the courage to keep building even when no one claps for you? Will you continue to heal even when it's quiet, thankless, and slow. Will you guard your peace, even if it means letting go of what once felt like home? Because soon, the test will come. Someone from your past will call. A moment of weakness may stir guilt in your chest. You'll hear your name spoken in judgment, and the old urge will return to explain, to be the dependable one again. That is the trap. Don't fall for it. You are not who you used to be. You are no longer the builder who lets others tear down your work. You are no longer the child who begs to be seen. You are no longer the pillar willing to crumble just to stay connected. This is your baptism, Taurus. Not in water, but in identity. You don't need to prove your growth. You don't need to prove your heart. You only need to lead it fully, quietly, powerfully. And when doubt returns, as it will, remember that garden. Return to its edge in your mind. Feel the rich soil. See the silhouettes on the other side, and remind yourself they were never meant to come with you. They were the beginning, but you are walking toward the becoming. There will come a time sooner than you think when the memory of who you were within your family will feel distant, like a house you once lived in but no longer own. Not because you've hardened, but because you've healed. And Taurus, healing doesn't make you colder, it makes you clearer. You'll begin to feel your own energy returning to you like a tide of strength. The fatigue that once clung to you like a heavy coat will start to lift. The confusion in your chest will soften. You'll begin to move through the world differently, not in defense, but in alignment. You'll walk into rooms and no longer scan for threats. You'll speak and not brace for misunderstanding. You'll sit with yourself and feel peace, not loneliness, because now you know who you are. Who you are is not defined by those who couldn't receive you. Your worth was never dependent on their recognition. Your stability was never a flaw. It was a map, a sacred path back to your original self. You are not just surviving anymore, you are remembering your design. The people who come into your life now, whether slowly or all at once, will meet you as you are, not as you had to be. You won't have to filter your needs or over-explain your silence. These are the ones who have met themselves deeply too, those who understand that connection isn't about performance, but presence. They will know your steadfastness is holy. They will know your quiet is powerful. They will not flinch at your depth. This is the family you've always longed for, not bound by blood, but by resonance. The kind that shows up without being asked, the kind that listens without needing a script, the kind that loves without condition. Still, every now and then, your old life will call to you. A smell, a photo, a memory will open that familiar ache. You'll wonder if you should reach out, if maybe you misjudged, if maybe, just maybe, things have changed. In those moments, remember this. You didn't leave because you stopped loving them. You left because you finally started loving yourself. You honored them the best way you knew how. For years, you gave chances, offered truth, and made space. But their inability to rise with you was not a reflection of your failure. It was confirmation of your evolution. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your healing. Some are only meant to awaken it. Your family may never understand why you left. They may never apologize. They may never change. But you are no longer waiting for that. You've stopped needing closure from people who were never open. You've stopped writing letters to those who don't read hearts. You've stopped putting your energy where there is no growth. Now, you live your healing every choice, every breath, every sacred no. And in doing so, Taurus, you become what you were always meant to be, a mirror of divine stability in a world obsessed with chaos. You don't fight to be seen anymore, you see yourself, and that is enough. Let the world say what it will. Let the past echo faintly. Let the silence be sacred, because in the quiet, you'll hear it, that gentle voice within, that whisper of the universe, that knowing, this is the life I made for you. This is the peace I reserved for you. This is the version of you I've been waiting for you to return to. As we wrap up, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What unstable foundation are you finally ready to walk away from? Remember, Taurus, you are not leaving a family. You are returning to your own sacred ground, your truth, and a love that doesn't ask you to abandon either. This is where your story begins again, solidly, strongly, fully. Welcome home.